wrong place, but right time. I don't know why exactly we're going through the Asia Pacific slot, but we are here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be and whenever you may be joining us. Thank you for stopping by. My name is Nick Malone, and I am going to be here to bring you through the second round of the Simrigs Sprint Series. We're here at Barcelona, round number 2 of 8. If you missed last week's festivities, don't worry, I got you covered with the highlights as always. Drivers saddling up for a new season. What better place to do that than Austin, Texas, Circuit of the Americas. Plenty of returning faces here, and a couple of new arrivals to the series, but for the most part, the field was very much drivers we were all familiar with, but that doesn't change anything. Lovrink is back, defending his championship crown, this time in the Porsche. He was in the Audi last season, made the switch. Can't seem to get away from the German manufacturers, though. He has been out there getting it already. Fernandez as well, reprising his role in the McLaren, trying to defend the Silver Class trophy. He had a little bit of competition last season, and he's already showing his stripes here for season 18. And then Hernandez, he swapped it out. He's gone for the All-American muscle of the Mustang. Back with the 888 though on the body for your Pro-Am drivers. And then the amateur class on Danique Stapleton, back again in the Ferrari, same livery, same everything as last season. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And the amateur class could be this driver's for the taking, but into race number 1, Hendrickson taking pole position. Lovrink and Clifford, your top 3. I mean, are you really surprised? How many times have we seen these guys swapping positions in this series? It has been, I don't even know, it just seems like every single race. It's sort of like the whole Ham-Ver-Bot thing from a few years ago, or as of recently, a lot of Verstappen and then some other drivers mixed in there, but at least the top 3 is consistent. A lot of drivers scattered around. Lemaire, one of them in the Arizona livery machine. But we soon got 2x2 for this first of 2 races, 230 minutes on the board. And things were going to kick off right away. We saw what AP Yellow did and said, well, we can do it better. So this is up into turn number 1. Hendrickson leading the way. Lovrink getting a move around the outside of Clifford, but you see Rasco getting spun in the background. Frizza goes off to the side. This would actually cause a virtual safety car, so on board from the offending driver Fernandez, who just punched somebody. And listing off everybody that got involved with this, it was Rasco, Frizza, Hernandez, Pocket, Eaton, Ciorciari, and Stapleton. And more of it just keeps going on, more bumping towards the end. But thankfully, everybody kind of figured out what they were supposed to do, and we got back towards the final corner. Hendrickson with control of the field immediately bolts with Lovrink in tow. They would try to build a gap, but if they couldn't, at the very least, maintain it. And it would not be long before we saw our first bit of overtaking. Kaiser on Sanchez, the back straight here at Coda. It just goes on and on. There's a lot of slipstream you can use. The McLaren just steps out. Kaiser actually gets off the throttle a little bit, and that allows Sanchez to go through. And this eventually leads to a bit of a brawl coming through 5 drivers, just about 3 wide from the 2 McLarens and the Ferrari towards the end of the straight. Still a lot of jostling for position at the start. Seems to make... it happens all the time, but can you really be all that surprised MacGyver was here lurking in his Mustang? Couldn't really find anything from it. That is a-okay. Later on, though, Rasco with Pocket ahead of him. Rasco, one of those drivers caught up in that early lap 1 melee. He was working his way through the field. He's going to go side by side, though, down the hill through to the S's. And before we even get there, he does get the job done. He starts eyeing up Waters here in the Ferrari, who's having all sorts of trouble getting through the latter stages. See, he's just missing apex after apex. He's just driving the track opposite. Rasco gets on the brakes a little bit. Doesn't even have to work too much for that switchback. Gets that move done. Waters then has to deal with Pocket seizing the opportunity, who does go up the inside onto the brakes. And that should be the position done. And with the big Boatley ahead, there was no chance you were catching Pocket by any means. And one of the newer drivers here on the grid, Andre Lloyd, going toe-to-toe with one of the most well-known drivers here in North America, Sanchez, battling it out towards upper midfield. And continuing to go side by side, but the line's probably not the best. Sanchez sweeping around the outside, though, as we get under the observation deck. In that position. And would hold him off. Lloyd, a lot to learn here in North America. We're ready to see what he can do. And the pain would continue as Kaiser starts eyeing up the poor Aston Martin. You can see the train behind Lemaire and MacGyver. Fernandez back there as well. He's not really much of a threat, but at the very least, he can sit there and maybe wait for some scraps to come his way. Kaiser gets around. Lemaire goes for a move on the inside. That's going to just hold Lloyd up. MacGyver wants something, can't get it. But later on, though, MacGyver would have his chance. How about that transition? I didn't even plan that one. That was like perfect crossfade. But it was MacGyver with the speed on exit. Just get the inside. Lloyd, nothing that could be done. Fernandez as well. Now, looking with the straight line speed here, just to show you how much the slipstream really plays into effect here on the back straight. You can come from a long way back, and Pocket is actually going to give us an even greater one because it is the Mustang. And this thing, if there's one thing we know how to do well with our American cars besides blowing up, is going fast in a straight line. And that is exactly what happens with Pocket. He is quite a ways back, pulls right up, gets around well before the corner. Now, this would be a multi-lap battle between Kaiser and Pocket. First of 3 coming down the back straight. Kaiser goes to the inside, a little bit more defensive. He's trying to hang with the Mustang. Might not be able to, but into the braking zone. Keeps it pinned on the inside. Pocket has to back out of that one. No issues, though. Later on, same spot, slightly different way of doing things as Kaiser really squeezing Pocket over to the right side. Pocket throwing a shoulder, asking him what in the world he's doing. That move is done. But coming through the corner, Kaiser was ready to come back. He would get around a slightly missed corner. And third time of asking, extremely defensive line for the Lamborghini into the braking zone. Would just continue to hold Pocket out wide, who would back off, surprisingly. Could have gone for a move, just used his opponent's mistake to maybe outbrake a little bit. Kaiser having none of it, though. Goes back down the inside, and unfortunately things would take a turn as Pocket misjudging the braking zone of his opponent. Thankfully, not a lot of damage done to Kaiser, and Pocket would actually wait for his fellow driver to get back in front, so good bit of sportsmanship, but that was really going to be it for them. At the end of race 1, it did go to Hendrickson, started on pole, lights to flag for him, and Lovrink and Clifford, right where you want them to be. That is your top 3. They stuck together for pretty much the entire race. For your highlights, Hendrickson, or you saw your highlights, your results, Hendrickson, Lovrink, Clifford, Portis, Wilson, Sanchez, Rasco, Lemaire, Fernandez, and MacGyver. And because of these double 30-minute races, the top 10 get reverse grid ordered. Everybody else has to battle for their position. So MacGyver would start on pole as the sun was setting here in Austin. And a delayed start as we push things up due to that manual reverse grid. But into turn number 1, you see 3 wide, then 4 wide in the background. It's a great start for everybody, though. Your pole sitter especially, as we would start to see a lot of single file races, but keep an eye on those 2 McLarens bottom left of your screen. Sanchez and Fernandez just coming together. Fernandez goes one way, Sanchez goes the other way. The English Channel is split, and everybody else goes on through, and this would set us up for the first back straight run through the positions. This was a bit of a pain to set up, but I like the end product. And of course, Fernandez in the back, he would have a lot of work to do. Now with this with the start of the race, though, Clifford, Lovering, two very familiar opponents for each other. One would get pushed wide, not pushed wide, maybe just sort of shouldered out, and that would give Hendrickson a chance to catch up, try to overtake the Lamborghini. Was not going to happen. But possible preview of things to come. But you can see just how close, I believe that was your top 11 were, and that was a massive gap, and we would see a change for the lead very soon after as Rasco gets the move done on MacGyver, and that was just the start of MacGyver's problems here. As with the Bentley getting through, Rasco would now have a chance to build a lead. Portis, and this is some more battling coming up. So this is Wilson and Lemaire ahead, Portis and Loverink in front of you right now, and then right behind them it's Hendrickson and Clifford. So 3 sets of 2 duking it out for position, still very much up the front of the field, but for Clifford things would go a little bit awry as Frizza gets a tap on the rear end, and then a nice little hit there to spin the Lambo around. Clifford would not pay too much mind to that. He'd have a job to do. Things would continue on though. Lemaire will lose a position over to Portis and Loverink. Hendrickson thinks that he can get a piece of this, but despite the, I guess you could say, skill difference, not to say that Lemaire is not talented, he certainly is, but this is incredible defense from Lemaire, holding off Hendrickson corner after corner, right where he needs to be. The Jean Alesi Lambo cannot get around. Sanchez joining as well, Frizza too. But these guys are all getting held up by each other, and actually, because of some of the corner decisions, Hendrickson gives up a position to Sanchez. Frizza too far back to really make a move stick, as you see Hendrickson cover that off immediately. And now Andre Lloyd under scrutineering. You saw him in the background in that previous little exchange. He's very late on the brakes and would just go into the right rear, or left rear quarter panel rather, of the Lamborghini of Hendrickson. Would spin himself on the infield. Hendrickson goes back, and Lloyd, he was in for quite the evening. It was gonna get pretty darn rough, but we move forward. Loverink and Portis here drag racing down the front stretch. Loverink on the left side, Portis on the right side. And this great little back view as Loverink really goes sailing there. Wants to set it on the inside. Sanchez is actually able to get in on this because of that. And he's going door to door with the Honda left, or it's right then left. Sanchez eventually just slips on through. Portis having to play catch up. And Frizza would find himself with Pocket and Stapleton, actually a very unusual spot. He had to serve a drive-through, which would push him quite a ways down. And he would go with his fellow Ferrari up the hill. Pocket well and truly ahead, but Frizza, I don't know if he outbraked himself or if Pocket braked a little bit too early, but Frizza just pushes him forward. Thankfully does not pick up anybody else in that. Stapleton getting that spot back, so Frizza to square one once again, as Stapleton would have to do some defense. But if you missed the ending, trust me, this is a great ending. So coming up to the penultimate corner, Rasco with Wilson behind. He just goes over the inside, unsettling the Bentley. Wilson taking the opportunity on the inside. He would just push the big old boat out of the way, and Lovering taking a perfect opportunity and picks up position number 2. So this is from Wilson's onboard. You can see the Bentley right there, the sparks coming out of the underside. And now watch how Lovering gets this job done. He does a regular racing line, tries to keep it as straight as he could, gets him on exit, and Rasco, from almost winning the race, coming down to the line, goes to third. You can see just how close the gap is from the second and third place drivers, but there it is. Wilson, Lovering, Rasco, Portis, Clifford, Hendrickson, Sanchez, Lemaire, MacGyver, Bandera. So a couple penalties were applied. Lovering, Hendrickson, Wilson, Clifford, Portis, Rasco, Sanchez, Lemaire, MacGyver, Fernandez. That is your standings. A little bit short. Apologies for that. I will get a longer one next week, but we're here at Barcelona. Qualifying just coming to an end. Lovering with pole, not too big surprises there. Wilson in P2 right now. 0.02 of a second, though, behind Loverink. He is not really improving, but will go on board. Hendrickson. Clifford was the first one out. I saw that. He's down 4th, Portis in 5th. We do have a couple of drivers who we will take note of course, when we get to the starting grid. I can see a couple of names that were not here last week. We'll make sure to give them extra special attention. I do have to talk to Mullock about setting the broadcast time a little bit earlier. If you're watching this and you're wondering why it says North America on Asia Pacific, whoever is in charge of that accidentally put the wrong broadcast. So if you're going to yell at anybody, yell at somebody, and if you're going to shout, you might as well shout at Wilson, taking pole position, 600ths over your championship leader. Austin Carpenter, one of the not new drivers, but returning faces, first race out in the all-pink Aston Martin. I mean, come on, really? When does he not drive that? So good to see him. And Ben Keogh, our boy, in the Stang. Very nice. Very good stuff. Joel Bandera shaking it up a little bit there with number 8. Folks, if you know what time it is, well, guess what? You are very smart. It is the grid walk. I know we missed pretty much all of qualifying. Like I said, I will talk to Mullock for next week's race, see if we can get some earlier start times for North American broadcast. I do try to keep these highlights short, at least under 15 minutes if I can. I think this one was about 14 some odd minutes, so I think I did pretty well. Could do better, but that's okay. But we are here at the start of the race, or just before the start of the race. Wilson going on to pole position. There's Loverink in the 52. His livery was having some issues, so we have a sort of default livery that we use, but it's not unsurprising to see Loverink up there. Clifford on your left and Hendrickson on your right, the two Lamborghini drivers. These guys are really trying to see who's better at driving that car, and I don't know who it's going to be by the end of the season. Portis in position number 5. Ben Keogh back once again like the Renegade Master. He lines up 6th, and then behind him another returning old face for North American Sprint, Ben Keogh in the 33 Mustang. We'll see what he can do. Some of these names he's raced with, others he hasn't, so we're going to see what he can pull off. Bandera, though, getting that P10. Post-penalty, I believe someone ahead of him got moved down. Dylan Kaiser in the 48, and beside him, none other than Chris Frizza. That rounds out your top 10, but don't worry, you got 11 more drivers behind them, one of them being Dan Fernandez, defending champion for the Pro-Ams. Or sorry, not the Pro-Ams, the silver class. So he's starting a ways down. Then it's going to be Rasco in the Bentley, Andre Lloyd in the Aston Martin, the Punisher Aston Martin. He got punished quite a lot last week, so he's going to try to make amends here at Catalunya. And then Jaden Hernandez in the 888, Alan MacGyver and Craig Pocket, 3 lines of American muscle. That is all the way down to position number 16. Lucas Lemaire probably cracking open a nice can of Arizona. I would not mind one right now. I'm a fan of the watermelon. Tastes way too damn good. And then Phoenix Ciociari has not submitted a livery for that. Xavier Eaton, 2 Porsche drivers, and then on to Nick Stapleton, amateur class, starting in position 21. And everybody say hello to Steven Deschelle in the Mercedes. Very surprising. I don't know how strong the Mercedes actually is, but I do like the livery. It sort of feels like Stapleton's right there. Slightly different color scheme. What these cars are on, we are within that 30-second window, and we should be going. There it is. We have some time before things really kick off. To give a shout out to Simrigs for sponsoring season 18 of Melbourne, Australia's finest, hooking you up with some pretty damn good sim racing gear. If you're in Australia, New Zealand, hey, just go and purchase it, no problem. But if you're anybody else in the world, send them an email, tell them what the situation is. Hopefully you can work something out. And if you guys are supporting us via Patreon, 5% off in-store purchases. Sim racing isn't cheap. I'll say it every single time I do this ad read. I don't have to, but I will. But yeah, save a little bit of money, alright? Things are getting expensive. I know we're towards the middle part of the year, so if you got someone's birthday coming up or an anniversary, well, now might be the time to get it done. So thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. We are here at the start. Folks, we have ahead of us 60 minutes on the clock, one mandatory stop, and if I'm not mistaken, oh, hello. I don't know why that surprises me every single time. I'm not 100%. I'm fairly certain it's just tires, and if that's the case, we do have a fixed length of time. It should be 25 seconds, I believe, is how we do it, yeah. Oh, refueling is not fixed. Interesting. Ooh, that's going to shake things up. So one mandatory stop just for fuel. There's no pit window, so you can pit whenever you want. And there's no refueling time. Normally, every time I've seen this, we've done refueling times. Like, just standard 25 seconds. But I guess not. We could be seeing some tire swaps, though. The left side takes quite a beating here at Circuit de Catalunya. It is not going to be easy. It is not going to be fun. We should definitely be seeing at least somebody throwing on a new set of Pirellis at some point in this race. But we'll see who braves it out and goes the whole way without swapping over anything. But folks, we are here. Round 2 of the Simrigs Sprint Series is about to go green. Wilson, the 600th of a second pole position, and we are off. It's a great start from everybody, almost 4 wide there, and now it is 4 wide as Keogh, Hendrickson, Clifford, and Portis all race down into turn number 1. Lovering with a slight advantage, but the inside line for Wilson. Is he able to defend it? He is. It's still side by side. There's a touchback there. Around goes Bandera from Clifford, and it is Fernandez as well getting caught up in all of that. 2 drivers off the start, and Wilson's lost a position. Bandera's getting turned back around. I believe that's Eaton as well. It could also be Ciari. It doesn't look like it is. Oh, it was actually. And has that drawn out a safety car? It must have. No, it hasn't. No, it has. This has drawn out a safety car. Well, let me just... Yeah. We are 2 for 2 on safety cars. Good job, guys. That's... I'm clapping. I should not be clapping right now. We are 2 for 2. Thankfully, we don't have too much chaos as we had last week. Multiple cars involved. Thankfully, this time it was maybe 4 or 5. But that was started from this man right here, Jonathan Clifford. It did not look intentional, but that spun around Bandera. So we should be going racing next time around. Well, everything starts for a reason, and this is how it's going to start in Barcelona. For some people, they're going to be pretty happy about that, because that means less time being thrown into your tires. And less pain. Speaking of pain, the Love Rink, the master of the restart, almost, I think he sort of caught Wilson relaxing a little bit. In comes Keogh. So Keogh's going to get his stop done immediately. Eaton's also come in. So has Fernandez. And we are back under green flag conditions here at Catalunya. And this start goes a lot better than it did just 1 lap ago. Drivers cannot pass before the timing line. The gaps are wide enough. We look back to Wilson, as he is going to be desperately chasing down this Porsche. And hopefully Love Rink submits his livery for next week. Rasco down in P10 at the moment. Bandera behind him. Rasco is a long way from the top. Best chance he's had so far this season for a win was race 2. But anything can happen. We still have plenty of rounds to go, and I believe we also have one more super sprint as well. So even more opportunities. Keogh, Eaton, and Fernandez. Pit stops are done. Pocket comes in. So we're getting some very early stops. I think we are going to be seeing a lot of this in the coming laps. I'm not saying half the field's going to be, you know, cleared for pit stops by the time we get, say, 15 minutes in. But I would say at least a dozen. Should be clearing things out. We'll see if anyone from this sort of top 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 goes in. So far, it's not. It's just Pocket. But already a great start for Lovering. Pulls out 3/4 of a second. Carpenter with Portis. Two guys who have raced each other multiple times for North American supremacy. Right now, Carpenter doing a great job of just keeping the Honda at bay. Not the largest gap, not what he would like, but it's what he's got to work with. Doesn't really have a choice in the matter for the time being. You see Clifford there in the background. He may pick up a post-race penalty for what happened through turn 2. Oh, and Portis is so close to this one. He wants it. Clifford can only watch right now. But if the gap is whittled away, we could see him joining this. Pocket in the pits for quite a while. I don't know what's going on with him. Right now, second gap from Portis to Clifford. About half a second from Lovering to Wilson. Slightly less time behind for Rasco. You can see Bandera with some of that front end damage. Doesn't seem to be affecting the performance all that much. Really able to pull up the boat. The left and right. I can never get this part of the track right, no matter how hard I try. It seems like Sector 3 in Catalunya is my absolute worst. I can't run it at all. But everyone else has been practicing putting those laps in. We could be seeing a change as both drivers go extremely wide. Neither spinning out. You can already see these gaps starting to form here. This Pocket remains in the pit lane. Ooh, things are really starting to heat up. Carpenter's fallen off. We've lost Portis. We haven't lost Portis, he's right there. So, ooh, I think we may be seeing a 5-man fight right now. So we have the 999 off. That is Clifford. Clifford has gone way down the grid. There is some damage on the back there. I don't know if somebody hit him or if he spun and then got hit. But he's gone from about 6th place to 14th. If there was a time to do a call an audible on the strategy, it might be now. Because it is not going to get any easier. Hendrickson in P3. Him and Wilson are, I don't know if they're running slightly better than Loverink right now. Wilson with that fastest lap, though, a 44.80. The only driver so far on the grid to actually get into the 44.8s. We've had a few 44.9s. And Loverink, surprisingly, does not have a 44. As I say that, he gets fastest lap with a 44.67. So, once again, proving me wrong and telling me to shut up. And we need to really watch this. Portis going the long way around into turn number 1. He had the slipstream. Now he's going to have to defend. They trade some paint there, and they both spin out. Portis and Carpenter pushing for position number 4. on the field, and they are both going to go out. Frizz is going to step on through. So will Hernandez, and Kaiser is now in on this. Rasco as well. Bondera you could even throw into that. Two drivers pushing it to the limit, and that's what happens when you go slightly over. Carpenter now has to deal with Hernandez in front of him, and you might get a run out of the corner here as he goes down the inside. The Mustang held out wide, but he's going to have the inside for the next corner. His turn to defend. Well, right on board here with Kaiser. He's going to have an excellent overview of these two, and it looks like Carpenter's actually gotten Hernandez out of the corner, but the Mustang fights on. He's going to keep trying on the inside, but there is no room to work with. Kaiser had the speed. The 888 tacked on right there on the middle of his line. He had to get off the throttle. So Carpenter up into P6. Frizz is still in 4th, although Portis really staying close to him right now. And you can see what Hernandez has to deal with, but thankfully it seems as though Kaiser's getting the worst of it. Oh, Bondera just got loose there out of the corner, lucky not to spin. Carpenter with some room to run now. He might pull away sooner than he would give his opponents the idea of. And then just behind him is Lemaire and MacGyver. Clifford's still a way long way down the grid. The one driver we can... Oh, and Clifford has just come in, so this is going to be a bit of an undercut to try and recover some positions later on. Doshell down in 17th. Oh, really struggling. Sliding it through the corner. First race out. We'll keep an eye. We'll keep an eye on this driver. Go back up here. So Love Rank has pulled out pretty much a second to Wilson. And Wilson with roughly the same gap to Hendrickson. Or sorry, it's half a second. I can't read. This mid-pack is where we're going to stay for a little while. Oh, I think Rasco might be feeling the pressure, though. Bondera's closing in. He is really starting to make things difficult for the Bentley, but I think his exit might have been a little bit shaky. As we see just up ahead, Kaiser getting the job done on Hernandez for position number 7. And you can hear Bondera, he wants to get the power down, but he just can't. So many things in the way. As we head through the chicane, out the other side. Bondera stuck in position 10. Kaiser's gained a spot. Hernandez has fallen down a spot. Lemaire and MacGyver running their own race right now. Lemaire and MacGyver both doing 46.3s compared to the 46.6s we're seeing from these drivers on screen now. So we should be seeing, if this trend keeps up, these two behind coming into the fray for 10th and maybe more. Things have settled right back down. The gap's now up front. A second from Lovering to Wilson. From Wilson to Hendrickson. And then a huge gap down to Portis in 4th there. Almost 9 seconds. Of course, Portis wrapped up in a couple of things he probably didn't feel like being a part of, but ended up being a part of his unfortunate circumstances. Doshell coming in for that one and only pit stop. Maybe another bit of an undercut to try and get some extra positions at the end. Lemaire continuing with MacGyver. Back straight, not as long as Koda's. And the inside to the Mustang. Is that job done? Yes, it is. MacGyver really getting on the brakes there. Lemaire just keeping that door open on the inside. And you can already see how far MacGyver's gotten away. Or sorry, not MacGyver. Kaiser has gotten away from these guys. He's Rasco has gotten around Hernandez in the meantime. Let's check in with Banderas. Everybody moves around but poor old Joel in the 70. But with the slipstream... Oh, but you can see it just doesn't matter. The Ford excels in a straight line, and the McLaren just cannot keep up. And keep in mind, that was even with a little bit of extra boost from Rasco's slipstream. But even without it, I don't think Bandera would have had the move done. So almost hopeless. Frizza and Carpenter for 5th. There's Clifford, but he's a blue flag. These two guys have raced quite a lot against each other in sprint, and I'm fairly certain in pubs and maybe some other organized settings. But Frizza and Carpenter, these guys, it seems like they just go way, way back for OOR. You gotta love it. Frizza's last lap. 46.13. Carpenter at a 45.66. I don't know if that was because of the blue flag of Clifford or maybe something else. But Carpenter has a lot of tricks to work with as Frizza just miscalculates the corner. That does invite the Aston Martin in, but he can't do anything with it. Oh, but Frizza actually flips himself around. Can Carpenter get down the inside before the chicane? No, he can't. Oh, but he tries it and spins around Frizza, facing the wrong way, tags up Clifford. Thankfully, nobody else getting caught in that. But Frizza right down to 11th from 5th. And if I had a bet on it, Carpenter is going to be getting a bit of a talking to afterwards, post-race. If you are looking to do stewarding for the Sprint Series, applications are open. But at the very least, you do get the penalties through later on. But a lot of action here at Catalunya. Just about 15 minutes done. Clifford getting through on Kaiser. Now there is... I don't know if it's a rule or more just a gentleman's agreement that if there's a blue flag who's faster than you, you just let them, if they ask to go through, if you agree to it, you let them through. Of course, Clifford quite a bit faster than Kaiser. We've seen it last week, both races, and of course here as well, so would not be surprised if that was discussed over the radio waves. Every driver here is in a voice chat for the race, just to get all the directives and whatnot from the proper organizing people. But Lucas Lemaire and Andre Lloyd for 12th position. Lloyd, I think, playing a bit safer from last week. I mean, this is around where he was in the last bit of racing at Coda. Nothing wrong with being a midfield driver. I myself was in there, maybe lower midfield. We didn't talk about that. Oh, Hernandez. I don't know how he caught that one. Rasco's come into the pit lane, and now it's going to be a classic bit of drag racing here at the front straight at Catalunya. Let's see. MacGyver, is he going to be a bit braver on the brakes into turn number 1? The braking zone coming up. They do it at about the same time, and MacGyver, shorter line through the corner. There's position number 8 for the 477. Hernandez falling back, maybe into the clutches of this man right here, Chris Frizza in the 74 Ferrari. So Rasco and Lemaire have come into the pit lane, already on their way out, just like that. Oh, and there's Lloyd as well. I don't think Lloyd's times are really quick enough. Oh, maybe. He's running about the same in the low 47s. We're seeing 47 2s and 3s. I don't know. Oh, CR, excuse me. Ben Keogh. Oh, side by side, they touch. How? How did Keogh hold that together? That was incredible. I want to see that. He's getting a little bit loose. He gets a little bit more speed. Ciociari, the touch right there. Oh, he gets a little bit of a love tap backwards, so that's how that happened. And, oh, Stapleton's off the road. Don't know what happened there. Could try to catch it, maybe. Oh, that's... Oh, God. I really hope that wasn't a punt from Rasco. And Lemaire almost hip-checking his fellow Ferrari, so that's how that played out. Hernandez has come into the pits. And Keogh has gotten around Ciociari in the meantime. So it looks like maybe a recognition of pace and not wanting to impede. Frizza and Lloyd. It looks like MacGyver has a healthy gap right now. Hernandez sitting a little bit longer than suspected. Ooh, Lemaire's come in, so has Stapleton. Let's see if these guys have practiced their pit stops. Looks like they have. So yeah, Hernandez coming out. So yeah, that was probably for some damage. Maybe affecting performance a little bit. And for, oh, hello, that's a camera angle. Never was a fan of that one. Lloyd doing a great job, though, to keep up with Frizza. This could be P9. Last lap has gone the way of the Aston Martin, a 46.2 compared to a 47.1. So almost a full second as Frizza just outbreaks himself. Does Lloyd have a chance now to gain a position? Oh my God, it's side by side, back and forth, one way and the other, and Lloyd pops out the other side. Frizza, oh, onto the gravel. That's going to slow him down a little bit more. And how quickly things can change is Lloyd picking up a well-deserved P9, and now has the chance to maybe eye up MacGyver. We'll see what the gap looks like. 3 seconds. Can this be overcome by Lloyd? And ahead is, it looks like Stapleton. Yeah, so Stapleton's going to have to get out of the way soon. Just so he doesn't hold these guys up. Portis has come in. Or sorry, yeah, Portis has. I thought it was Kaiser. No, Portis has come in for his pit stop. So that leaves just about half the field who haven't come in to get that mandatory fuel. Portis may also... No, very quick stop from him. And Carpenter still with Clifford. I don't know if this is going to be moved around or what. But we shall see soon enough. Loverink and Wilson, that gap has been growing and shrinking throughout the course of the race, anywhere from about 0.6 to over a second. See if either of these guys come in. Nope. This may become a case of who blinks first. Wilson may try to mirror Loverink. If not, definitely looking to see if he can build a significant gap before the end. Or before his pit stop, rather, to see if he can come out ahead. No, this is not a battle for position. As Clifford is the Lamborghini behind, spun out on lap 1. Or sorry, not lap 1. That was he accidentally spun somebody out. Carpenter, though, not making it easy. And Ciociari completely messing up the front end a little bit on the Porsche. Still has that pit stop to do. I don't know where this would put him. But Portis has gotten around, so that was for position. But I think the 69 may come in soon. We haven't seen anybody, as far as I'm concerned, we haven't seen anybody go for tires. So probably a lot of nursing of the left side. We'll see. We'll see. It's not impossible, of course, to do a 1-hour race, but on the same set. But if you can make it work, you can make it work. So we'll see what develops. Hendrickson is still very much in a world of his own right now, as he has Lemaire behind him. Hendrickson running in the low 46s, high 45s. Or sorry, yeah, high 45s, low 46s. But Wilson and Lovering continue to keep each other company. And they are starting to come up to some traffic. I believe that is Eaton in the 404 Porsche. So should be getting out of the way. That he is. We'll let 1, we'll let 2 through. And Austin Carpenter, I think maybe having to let Clifford through. I think he has. If he hasn't willfully let him through, then he's definitely lost it just through pace alone. So there's one more unlapping that Clifford has done for this race thus far. We shall see. He's going to be getting all those blue flag notifications, but pace-wise, I don't think it really matters. And there it is. Sior Ciari has come in. Practice that pit stop, maybe. We'll see. It looked a little dicey. The rear axle of the car is what is used for the speed check. Not just because game, but because actually in real life. So if you've ever wondered how exactly, if it's from the front end or the back end, there's your answer. And that just leaves your top 9 who haven't pitted: Loverink, Hendrickson, Carpenter, Kaiser, Bandera, MacGyver, Lloyd, and Frizza. Out of, well, we started with 21. We've gotten down to 20. So we'll see when these guys come in. I'm not certain exactly when, but we will see what their plans are. And as I say that, Carpenter decides now is the time to come in. Bandera passing it up. Same with MacGyver, Lloyd, and Frizza. So we'll see what Carpenter actually ends up getting by the end of it. And we have just gotten an update from the lovely Glenn Germain for next week's race, which will be at Suzuka. So a good change of pace. And it will be the first of 2 extended formats. Frizza with a little bit of drifting. Probably very excited for Suzuka already, getting the Tokyo Drift together. No, it's going to be the first of a couple of races that are longer than our standard hour. The Suzuka race going to be 75 minutes, no mandatory stops. So we're going to be giving drivers a lot of practice to try to figure this one out. And then I believe we have at least one other 75-minute, and I think we also have a 90-minute race coming up on the calendar. But we'll cross all those bridges when we get to them, or burn them at the very least. Kaiser and Bandera, these guys have been playing a very slow burn of a battle. Bandera's been taking a couple of tenths out here and there, and it may pay off very soon. Although he is not close enough to make a move, of course. Close enough for a slipstream, though. Half a second is that current gap. But you can tell it's not really helping. He may have set the car up more for these more technical sections. Kaiser may be opting for the faster straight line areas. And now Xavier Eaton starting to feel the fire as Lemaire looking to gain a position into 15th. He's going to look on the inside, but he's going to get back on the racing line. Eaton very slow there. Lemaire getting an excellent run out of the corner. Peeps to the inside once more. Slightly different lines from both of these guys. And as Eaton goes a little bit loose there on the exit, Lemaire's going to use all of that to pull ahead into the braking zone. And that should be job done. It is. Lucas Lemaire getting around Xavier Eaton. One small mistake, and if it isn't bad enough, Hendrickson is here. He's going to want to get past. Eaton is going to get off the line and let him through, so he'll lose some time. To the Ferrari, Lemaire spinning himself out, gets from position 15, now to 16, now to 17, just through his own set of mistakes. So let's see what happens. Oh, he just goes drifting into the corner. I don't know if the braking is what set him off, or maybe he just got a little bit of runoff or something. But from getting the position to being well and truly off of it, Eaton's going to be very happy about that. All that work that he did and all the defense he did that came up short has been refunded to him, and the position's been gifted back as Eaton goes drifting now. Okay, hold on. Don't get too excited, friend. You're gonna... You don't want to end up in the same situation. Although Clifford is behind you, so this will also be a fight for position, although Clifford has gone around Eaton before, although it was more of a blue flag get around instead of an actual, hey, we're fighting for a spot. But Clifford is really trying to hustle Eaton up, trying to get him out of the way. He does not want to waste too much time here. Although he does know that he could get him coming down the backstretch here. Just a little bit later on the brakes. Eaton has been very, very conservative with some of these braking zones. Clifford up into 15th. Deja vu because Lemaire's starting to come through, and Bandera picks up a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. And right at the halfway mark, Rasco, hold on, Rasco and Keogh, the two beefy cars, duking it out for position number 8. Rasco holding on to it as best he can. Keogh looks on the inside, just gets held up high a little bit, can't get the power down. Rasco barely making it out of that one. But I fear Keogh may come back with a vengeance, rather. Hendrickson's and Lloyd is coming in as well. So that just leaves your top 5 yet to go into the pit lane. Keogh, why don't you give us a little bit of music, please? Well, it might not be the best sounding as my settings are down, but continuing uses all that speed in the slipstream as well. Keogh, he's right on the edge of getting the position, and Rasco, nerves of steel, does not let that scare him off. Keogh, again, just teased of a spot. But back again, same spot as a lap ago. And the side-by-side continues. He's gonna have to sling it around the outside, although he may get the switch back on Rasco. He does. Rasco falling into the trap. Hook, line, and sinker, flashing the headlights. Hopefully as a way of saying great battle, good move. And Keogh knows it. Tried a couple of times, and eventually it works. Keogh up into lucky number 7. And Banderas serving. That stop go 30. Kaiser's come in. Hendrickson's out. He's got his stop cleared. He comes out in 6th position, surprisingly. Frizza stayed out. MacGyver, Wilson, and Loverank. Who is that behind Wilson? I am curious. That is Lloyd. And despite Loverank's apparent, I would say, walking away from the start, he hasn't built a gap like we've seen in previous seasons. It's just under a second. I think Wilson is playing the waiting game. I don't think he's going in until Loverank does. Because he knows the second that he goes in and Loverank's still out there, it might be over. But if he goes in with Loverank, the same thing might happen. So we could opt to stay out and try to get a bit of an overcut. But these guys have been pretty much not nose to tail, but they have been within shouting distance of each other. And speaking of being in shouting distance, as we have somebody off there on the gravel, I think getting out of the way, that's Stapleton. I don't know if this is going to be a slow build of a gap for Keogh or not. And, well, Ian does not have the same luxury because Lemaire has slowly been pulling into the station and sitting right dead center on the middle of the circuit is Eaton. Lemaire is going to get very brave here, trying to go down the inside. Eaton does not falter himself, sticks with it. A bit of a wiggle there from the Ferrari through turn 3. Eaton popping out the other side, still ahead of Lemaire. Eaton holding off Lemaire in one hell of a fashion. Lemaire did it last week with Hendrickson, and now it's Eaton's turn as both of these guys go sliding. Doing the exact same thing at the exact same spot on the exact same corner. That's impressive, I must say. MacGyver has come into the pit lane. The gap you see right now is roughly the gap from Loverank to Wilson. Maybe not this close, but about half a car farther forward. Lemaire almost taking out the 404, and another drag race ensuing, but Lemaire's going to have the hardest part of it because he's on the outside. He's stuck up high. And Ian, one of the greatest bits of defending we've seen here. Lemaire got around him earlier, spun himself out. Ian got the place back, and now he's back to square one. He's got to do it for 24 more minutes. Depending on who you ask, it might be the longest 24, the shortest 24, or just the right amount of 24 in your life. As that's Carpenter. I thought he was overtaking Loverank for a second. That would have been wrong. But we check back in. Lemaire quite a long ways back compared to last time. Sticks to the racing line. The Porsche staying on a defensive. He wiggles. He was on the inside. Lemaire sidestepping through. Does Ian have a response, though? I don't know. Under the reps. Oh, he's very, very late on the brakes. I think Lemaire was looking in the mirror at the wrong time. Despite that, Ian now brakes himself. Lemaire slides. These guys are really pushing it in the weirdest way possible, but they are still fighting like mad for this. And as I say that, Ian, oh my god, he is so desperate to get that spot back. He almost completely compromises his race. We're going to leave that one there. We'll see if Eaton can claw back some time. MacGyver and Lloyd. I want to see this from Lloyd's POV. There is no slipstream for MacGyver. He's 12 seconds behind Fernandez. And he is still he's just Sunday strolling away. He's pulling away from Lloyd. There's nobody in front of him to really give him a slipstream. I mean, that is Wilson up ahead, but he's not close enough to get any sort of hole in the air punched for him. But turns 1 and 2 are done quite shadily from the Mustang. Lloyd doing it properly cannot catch up. Fernandez and Hernandez, two of your class champions, having to duke it out for 10th position. Frizz is coming to the pit lanes. That does leave Lovrink and Wilson. No idea how late in the game these guys are going to come in. But we have a lot of... Oh, we've got a few late-stage battles starting to develop. I think some of these tires are really starting to hurt for a few drivers. Rasco and Portis. Oh, Portis gets a good line. Rasco's is a little bit sideways. And now the slipstream. And nothing the Honda can do, it looks like. Although Portis pulling up. He's going to just peer to the inside. Rasco goes defensive preemptively. Could this be exactly what Portis needs? As bounding over the curb is Rasco, the Bentley. No stranger to eating curbs day in and day out. This might be Portis' best chance. The break is about the same. Rasco high on the turn, but continuing to stay side by side with Portis evenly through the next turn. They go the inside line, a little bit of bang in there, not once but twice. As every inch of road being fought by these guys. For position number 5, it's less than a tenth at this point. This may be the next spot for Portis to make a move. If Rasco did not get as great of an exit, he could have maybe gone for it, but Portis isn't there for the move. He gets that slipstream boost at probably one of the worst times. Oh, Ciori and Stapleton. They've swapped positions. Stapleton's moving all over the place right now. And it looks like the inside line might be the choice for the 35. He cannot make that move stick. We check back in just behind them. Is Hernandez, and Fernandez, as the McLaren jumps over the inside of the corner in the 888. Gets a little bit of breathing room. Portis still chasing down Rasco into turn number 1. All the battles right at the end. I'm trying to keep up with everything. Hernandez has gotten the chicane wrong. Now Fernandez can get the move done, but here's the problem. You have one of, if not the best car for driving in a straight line behind you with the slipstream. How close does Hernandez get? Fernandez goes defensive into turn number 1. Does not look like he overshoots the corner. Hernandez maybe braked a little bit too early. The McLaren getting out of there. We check now. Kaiser has just lost this position to Carpenter. How's Rasco? In the same position, the same set he's been in this entire time. Portis still very much bearing down on him. Is the move coming? It's a bit of a switchback. Now it's side by side. The back straight has the Honda on the outside, the Bentley on the inside, into the braking zone. It's a little bit later there for Portis, but I don't think it's going to do anything. Rasco has outbraked himself, and now Portis has gotten through into position number 5. 18 minutes to go here on the clock. And we check in. What are the race leaders doing right now? They are still out there. They are behind the battle we just saw. These guys have not pitted yet. And there, oh, Fernandez ahead. Hold on, this might cause some problems. No, it didn't look like. I thought for a moment Stapleton was going to hold him up, and if that was the case, Hernandez would have had a golden opportunity to try to get some space back, maybe get a few extra points here. Does Lovrink come in? Does Wilson come in? I speculated earlier. Loverink's gone in. Has Wilson gone in? Yes, he has. This is exactly what Wilson was waiting for. He stuck with Lovrink the whole time. The gap never really got above 1.25 seconds. Now the question is, where is the pit box for both of these guys? It sucks that we can't see it, but depending on who stops first, Wilson, has he gotten the stop perfect? How much fuel does he put in? Lovering's still moving. Lovering has just stopped. Wilson on the way. And Lovering as well off the jacks. The battle for P1 continues with Lovering still leading ahead of the 91 McLaren of Wilson. And they are going to stay ahead of Hendrickson, who has just come through the final corner now. Frizza and Carpenter, really the only battle that we have right now. Everything else is sort of subsided. But this is another battle we'll keep an eye on. As Frizza really working this Ferrari right now to get away from Carpenter. You can see how great of an exit he gets. Oh my god, that was beautifully done. And Kaiser there just trying to get a little bit of a cameo in this. Look at Frizza, 2 corners, and he's already pulled a massive gap right now. Half a second. I don't think Carpenter's slipstream is really as strong as he would have liked. His Stapleton is a little bit held up there with Lloyd and MacGyver. 12th, you can see Fernandez getting around Ciorciari, or that might be Eaton actually. No, it is Ciorciari. As the Italian, a little bit odd on the way in, but actually gets it rounded up quite nicely. We check back in. How is it that despite Frizza getting the final 3 corners of this circuit done perfectly, Carpenter has caught right back up? This may be a case of slightly different setups and tuning your car for different parts of the circuit. Oh, you can hear Carpenter slide. You just heard a little bit of those back tires stepping out. I think Carpenter's maybe a little bit later on the brakes here. He's very close to the 74. Just a couple of tenths separates these guys. And he's gonna go for a later apex, rounding it up right on that little bit of sausage curve on the inside. Speaking of the inside, that's where he's gonna look into the chicane, for the first part of the larger entirety of the chicane. And despite the last time around Frizza getting this perfectly, he doesn't. He completely messes it up. Does Carpenter have a shot here? This front stretch can be quite monstrous. And so is the speed. Into turn number 1 we go. It is side by side. Aston on the left, Ferrari on the right, and it is going to be the all-pink Aston Martin that gets the job done. Frizza sliding through turn number 1, gets it squared up for turn number 2. Now to turn number 3. Carpenter still ahead of this. And Frizza now on the back foot. The roles have been changed. And now a gap that he had between himself and the car chasing is now the exact same gap that he is using to chase the guy in front with. Dylan Kaiser, you see him in the background. Depending on Frizza's laps, depending on the pace of that, we could be seeing the 48 Lambo actually picking up or at least fighting for this spot by the end of the race. Carpenter starting to really pull ahead. But this has been some great racing here towards the end. Tires in varying states of usability. And you are seeing that. We'll check back in with your race leader, Lovering. 3/4 of a second down to Wilson. I don't think Wilson's been closer than maybe half a second following the start of the race. It has been all sorts of crazy. Also, Glenn, I don't know if you're still here. If you set up the broadcast, hi, we're going through Asia Pacific, we're not going through North America. So, yeah, just look at that for next week. Maybe change the title in the meantime. But anyways, Lovrink and Wilson, half a second right now. Oh, is Ciori in trouble? No, Ciori is not in trouble. Ciori is getting out of the way, people. God, Wilson, this must be... This is Wilson's Sisyphus story. He's just pushing the boulder up the infinite mountain. Because no matter how close he gets to Lovrink, he's never close enough for a move. Alright, got you, Glenn. Thanks. I was wondering why it wasn't going through, and then I checked. So Wilson, this is very, very close. Less than half a second. Still 11 and a half minutes to go here. It has been like this constantly. And the crazy thing is, Wilson's laps are faster than Lovrink's. This last lap and the lap before even was 0.4 of a second. Wilson may have done a slightly better job of tuning for those slower sections of the circuit. Maybe sacrificing a little bit so we can get some extra speed on the straighter parts. I don't know what Lovrink's Porsche is looking like setup-wise. It's incredibly stable. I mean, anything he drives is. Wilson, right there, smelling the exhaust fumes mid-corner. Does he have a shot? Is it coming up? Is this change for the lead going to happen sooner than expected? I don't know. But Wilson, God, he is... This is the point. This is the moment he's been waiting for. He knows it's coming up. I think you may be right, Breno. It might be the tire grain. It might be how these cars handle tire degradation. Especially at a circuit like this. I would love to see any bit of data for these tires. How they've held up. And especially with Wilson's position with being behind Lovrink so much. I mean, he's been... I mean, I don't know how much the dirty air coming off, if there really is any dirty air, has been affecting the performance. You know, it's not like the, say, the V8 supercars were sitting right behind the guy in front of you is a bad thing. In a similar gap, another 0.4 of a second. Ooh, Lovrink has found the pace of 46.2 compared to a 46.3 from Wilson. This may come right down to the last lap. These guys are not giving it up at all. And there really aren't any other battles happening right now. Everybody's kind of settled in their spots, just either waiting for the guy ahead to make a mistake or possibly somebody else having something to say. And I thought Lovrink for a moment was going to lose it. I don't think so. You do have to check in. MacGyver's been pulling up on Hernandez quite quickly. In these last few laps, I've been keeping just a passive eye on it. It's been about half a second. Just want to make sure nothing's happening between these two. Alright, here we go. Through the chicane behind them. There's Lloyd, and it looks to be either Ian or Ciori. Hernandez, I think, got a little bit of a love tap. Now we get to go side by side. MacGyver, I think he's just got the speed out of the corner. He might. Yes, he does. That's 11th, but he's going to have to hold it into turn number 1. Hernandez might be coming back. He may go later on the brakes. But he's slowly just losing all sorts of pace there. And it is done. MacGyver has grabbed 11th. Can Lloyd pick up this 12th spot? I don't know. As Keogh and Portis... We haven't seen a lot of these guys recently. Portis has actually gotten around Keogh, so something must have happened off screen that we were not aware of. But Lovrink losing a couple of tenths. Last lap, exactly the same. Both did 40. Lovrink did a 46.2. Wilson did a 46.3. You want consistency? You have found consistency. Now Also, good thinking, Glenn. We don't want to break things here. It is never ideal. Speaking of ideal, Wilson in a position with such a denomination that he just cannot get around. He is throwing everything he can. He's trying to cut these corners as close as he can to the limit. Maximize the exit. Oh, and he's losing a load of time. Wasn't even close to the apex there, unlike Loverink. Loverink. A bit of a breather. Wilson's very close on the apex. He's got to be careful. Both of these guys really have to be sure they don't cook or just completely fire up those tires. Of course, the McLaren, relatively infamous for absolutely spinning out of corners, and the Porsche is just the Porsche. I don't really need to explain myself any further. These guys have absolutely mastered their rides. And we'll see what the gap is when we cross the line. 6.5 tenths, 44.8. Or sorry, not 44.8, 46.1 and a 46.0. Offering with that 46.0. We are really seeing these guys throw everything at it, and Andre Lloyd may get his chance to get his overtake done. He has had a relatively quiet race, but Hernandez has absolutely fallen off the pace of MacGyver and continuing to lose himself in the corners. Lloyd does not get the corner, sliding the back end, but so does Hernandez. So that keeps this close. Sits a long way on the left side before coming back over. No room right now for Lloyd to get through. That Aston Martin searching left, right, and center, can't find anything. Granted, half the options are pretty much held up and closed off because of how wide that Mustang looks. But we'll see. Is there anything that Lloyd can do out of the corner? No, there isn't. It's 6/10, and that gap grows. Pretty much no slipstream. No slipstream whatsoever, actually. That's just what happens when you square up with such a car. Oh, goodness. We have a couple of tenths now. It is insane how I can look away for what feels like not even half a lap, and when I check back in, it's been an entire lap with these guys. Wilson was right there. Stapleton held up the Porsche. And that holdup was enough to give Wilson a 3/10 quicker lap. Is he going to convert? He's got to stay calm. See that Porsche twitching a little bit. Wilson, similar exit though. Out of 3 into 4. Trying to get the shortest line possible through the corner up to 5. Loverink having to not only drive his race, but drive defensively. Wilson, all the attack he's got. Very close. Couldn't get on the throttle as quickly as he would have liked, though. We'll leave these guys possibly for a second. Lloyd, this is ahead. This is ahead of your 2 leaders right now. So to think just how much pace Wilson and Loverink have, it's incredible to see. Lloyd, this has been his own personal hell. Getting so close through the chicane. He knows that if he can get the move done before then, he might be able to hold it going into turn number 1, but I don't know. When these guys cross the line, it's going to be 2.5 minutes to go. So, 2 more laps for Wilson to try and get first. If this is going to be what we see a lot of these 2 guys fighting, and maybe we see Wilson take a couple wins, this could be a very difficult championship for Loverink. Loverink only has a 4-point gap right now in the championship. And that's just after that first round at Coda with those 2 races. Of course, Lovering picking up that P2 in both races. Although the guy ahead of him was Hendrickson, and Hendrickson right now, his teammate is way, way down. But Wilson is running out of time. But he is so close. He may go for a desperate move. He may see a door slightly cracked open and deciding just to drop the shoulder into it and see if he can make it work. But right now, that door is locked shut. Has been pounding on it lap after lap. Lovering putting all of his weight against it and barely keeping Wilson out of this top spot. Hernandez and Lloyd again. This is the same gap. We've seen it. I mean, I don't know how many laps at this point. We've seen a few, but I don't know how often this has been going down. And the entire time, Clifford has been gaining. He has gone a long ways down the grid. This is not the race he wants. This is not going to help him out at all. Does a 46 flat. But ladies and gentlemen, the last lap of the second round of the Simrigs Sprint Series here at Catalunya. Lovering leads Wilson by just under 0.6 of a second. It has been lap after lap with these two, and they are starting to come up on some traffic. I believe that could be Ciorciari ahead in the 404. Yes, it is. And you can just see Lovering and Wilson sitting under the wing. Hernandez also in a similar position with Lloyd. These guys are having the exact same situation as 1 and 2, but the cars are different, and so are the drivers. The gap we're seeing right now, exact same gap up top. But the problem is, Wilson is running out of corners. Does he feel brave enough to go for it? Is he hoping the Porsche ahead is caught at the best possible time for him to make his move? Or does he just let this be? He is not forced to go for a move. He doesn't think it's there. But he was so close. Or no, he wasn't. He actually won a race last week. Who am I kidding? He won race number 2 at Coda. Lovering yet to win a race this season. Usually he wins the first of those super sprints, those back-to-back races. And now Ciorciari, they come together. Wilson is let through, but he might have just compromised himself, and it looks like that has happened. Ladies and gentlemen, Skylar Lovering, lap after lap after lap with Wilson behind him, and finally he's going to see the checkered flag first. Lovering winning his first race of the season. Wilson comes home in P2. Ciorciari behind them is going to be finishing up in 17th. Stapleton doing a little bit of a celebratory slide. That's going to be 18th for the number 35. But William Hendrickson back on the podium, does it again. Portis coming through the final corner. He'll get a nice looking P4 for his efforts. Lemaire's going to be 15th. Keogh in his first race out this season into the top 5. Great to see him back. Great to see him fighting for everything he's got. And Rasco in the big old Boatley has kept Carpenter at bay. 6th and 7th for these guys. Chris Frizza, what a race he's had. Dylan Kaiser has caught up slowly but surely, has not had a chance to make a move at all. 8th and 9th. Dan Fernandez, though, can keep his head held high because he's going to come home in what I would assume to be P10. Unless, yeah, people have been, I think someone left, so that's probably why. MacGyver, then it's going to be Lloyd. Hernandez has lost a spot. Clifford's gained one. Clifford's going to finish up in 12th. And folks, that should just about do it here at Catalunya. What a race we had. A lot of action there at the start. A pretty pretty nice lull in it, and then we have those pit stops come through, different bits of tire wear, and that is going to close things out. So we'll take a look at the results. It's Loverink, Wilson, Hendrickson, Portis, Keogh, Rasco, Carpenter, Frizza, Kaiser, and Fernandez, your top 10. Those are preliminary finishes. We will give you, of course, the update when we are back next week at Suzuka. Once any and all penalty or time penalties have been applied for the Pro-Ams. It's Kaiser, McIver, Lloyd, Hernandez, Lemaire, Ciori, and Pocket. We lost him very early on. The amateurs, Eaton, Stapleton, and Deschelle. Deschelle, of course, the newest driver here on the grid, did not participate in round 1, but is here for round 2, and hopefully to see him again next race. And then Hernandez and Bandera. We lost Bandera early on, didn't get that stop-go 30, so definitely not the race he wanted. But folks, that is going to do it for us here tonight. A quick final thank you to Simrigs for sponsoring another season of the Sprint Series. Melbourne, Australia, I really don't know what else to say. They got sim gear, they got Simrig stuff. You got to upgrade. You got someone who's got to upgrade. They've got you covered if you happen to live in Australia or New Zealand. But if you're like anybody else in this organization that isn't from those countries, send them an email. Let them know you want to do some business, and maybe you can set something up. And if you are supporting us via Patreon, 5% off those purchases. So use it, please, for the love of God. This is not... if I could get my money back, it'd be this one, but I enjoy it too much. But again, thank you to Simrigs for another season of sponsorship. Folks, like I said, we are back next week with the race over at Suzuka, and if we take a look, it is going to be a 75-minute race. No mandatory stops, though, so it's going to be up to the drivers to figure out what they want to do. And then I did talk about those longer 90-minute races. We have one at Silverstone and one at Spa, but those are not going to be till rounds 4 and 8, respectively. But on behalf of myself and everybody here at the OOR, we'd like to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed your stay, and as always, until next time, stay safe, stay beautiful, and get those samurai swords ready. We're heading to Japan.
Try to be a negative bull, yeah. We could be taking control, yeah. Negative bull, yeah. We could be taking control, yeah. Negative bull, yeah. We could be taking control, yeah. Negative bull, yeah. We could be taking control, yeah. Negative bull, yeah. We could be taking control, yeah.